As I've been talking about this whole lifestyle first business model design process, I got a DM and it was a major duh moment because, of course, this is an obstacle. The message said, "This all sounds great, but I need to pay my bills, so it feels like I can't afford to make major changes to my business." So I knew this was something I had to cover because you don't have to choose between staying miserable in business A or blowing everything up to get business B and take a major pay cut in the process. There is a third option. You can build a strategic bridge between where you are and where you want to be. And today I'm talking you through the exact 5 priorities, plus a bonus one, that I would take for transitioning a business model without your revenue collapsing underneath you. So let's talk about it. Most business owners hit a point at some point where their business model stops fitting their life, right? Maybe you started with one-on-one services and now you want to shift to group programs or courses for more time. Or maybe you've been serving one audience, but you're feeling called to talk to a different one now. Maybe your delivery model made sense 3 years ago, but it's taking up too much time now. Whatever the reason, you've realized that you're running business A, but what you actually want is business B. And the gap between those two things is not dramatic announcements. It's not blowing everything up and starting all over again. It's strategic decisions made over time that compound into a major transformation. That's what today's episode is all about. How do you make the shift from your current business model to your ideal business model when you still have bills to pay and revenue goals to hit? The first priority is getting crystal clear on where you are versus where you want to be, because you can't build a bridge that you haven't identified. The wild thing is how many people skip this step. They know they're unhappy, but they haven't actually mapped out what's misaligned or what they would need to change. So they end up feeling stuck without a clear path forward. This is the business model gap framework. On the left, your current reality, and on the right, your ideal model. And in the middle, we have a bridge showing the strategic path between them. Let's start with your current reality. What are you selling right now? I want you to list out all of your offers. Who are you serving? Who's your current audience or client base? How are you delivering, right? Is it one-to-one? Is it group programs, courses, done-for-you services? What is your revenue breakdown? Which offers are bringing in the most money, have the biggest profit margin? How many hours does your current business model require from you? I want you to write all of that down, and that is business A. That's what exists right now. Now, let's map out your ideal model. What do you want to be selling? If you could design your offer suite from scratch and know it would work, what would it look like? Who do you want to serve? Is it the same audience or a different one? How do you want to deliver that offer? What delivery model would fit for your lifestyle factors and energy? What revenue do you want to generate? Both your base and your ideal monthly revenue. How many hours do you want to be working? What's your realistic and ideal capacity? Write that down too. That is business B, and that's where you want to go. Now, here's where it gets useful. I want you to look at both sides and identify the gaps. Where is your biggest misalignment? Is it your positioning, your offers, your delivery model, your audience, your capacity? What would need to change in each category to get you from business A to business B? By the way, if you would like help with this step, I have a free resource called the Lifestyle First Business Model Template, and it walks you through mapping your current versus ideal business model in detail. I'll pop a link down in the description. But before you can start building business B, you have to create capacity so you actually have space to make these changes, which brings us to priority 2. You can't build a new business model if you don't have time or energy to work on it. Most people stay stuck in business A because they're so consumed by keeping it running that they have no space to build business B or make those transitions. So priority 2 is what I call capacity rescue. You're going to audit your business model to try to find 5 to 10 hours, ideally minimum, that you can use to start working on the new business. Maybe it is building a new audience or testing a new offer, right? Or reworking your newly refined positioning. This is where the capacity rescue system comes in. In 4 quadrants, we have automate, outsource, cut, and systematize. Each quadrant represents a different way to free up your time and energy. First is quadrant 1, which is automate. What tasks are you doing manually that software could handle, right? Think about things like email sequences, payment processing, client onboarding, social media scheduling, invoice reminders, any and all of it, frankly. The questions to ask yourself is, what am am I doing manually that could run without me? For example, if you're still manually sending welcome emails to new clients, set up an automated onboarding sequence. If you're manually invoicing people, use a tool that handles recurring payments. If you're manually posting on social media every day, use a scheduler, right? Automation does not strip the humanity out of your business. It frees you up for the parts that actually require your presence. Quadrant 2 is to outsource, right? What tasks drain your energy that someone else could do? What's taking up my time that isn't actually making me money? And yes, outsourcing costs money, but if you can free up 5 hours per week by hiring a VA for $500 a month, and you use those 5 hours to test a new offer that brings in $3,000, right? The math works. Outsource even just one thing that isn't your zone of genius or joy and see how much breathing room it creates. Quadrant 3 is to cut, right? What can you stop doing entirely? This is the hardest one for most business owners, myself included, because we're conditioned to think that everything matters, but not everything does. Are you showing up on a platform that doesn't actually bring in leads? Cut it, right? Do you have an offer that takes up a ton of time but doesn't sell well? Sunset it. Are you doing tasks out of obligation or habit, not strategy? Let them go. The question to ask yourself is, what am I doing that if I stop tomorrow, no one would notice and my revenue wouldn't drop? Permission slip, not everything needs to be replaced. Some things just need to end. Finally, quadrant 4, systematize. What can you make more efficient? Think about tasks that you do repeatedly that could be turned into a system or a template. For example, if you're writing sales emails from scratch every time, create templates. If you're onboarding clients manually, create a checklist and a process. If you're batching content once a week, could you batch it once a month instead? The question to ask yourself is, what do I do over and over again that could be streamlined if I put a system behind it? Your goal with Capacity Rescue is to carve out either one full day per week or 2-hour blocks a few times a week that you can dedicate to business model B priorities. Capacity isn't found, it's creative, and it starts with getting ruthlessly honest about what's actually necessary versus that's just the way it's always been done. All right, so you have identified the gap and you have created capacity. Now, priority 3 is about testing your new offer without blowing up your current ones. Most people think that their new offer has to replace their current revenue immediately, right? So they either don't launch it at all because the pressure feels way too high, or they launch it in a panic and it flops because they're desperate for it to work. There is a better way. You run your old offer and new offers in parallel. You let the new one prove itself and then you slowly phase out what's not working once the new revenue is consistent. This is a transition more than a light switch, right? So let's talk about some different ways to test your new offer in low risk ways. Here are some ways to test that, right? So option 1 is a beta version. You can launch a beta program or a beta service at a discounted price with limited spots. You're selling the transformation, not the polish. This is perfect for proving your concept and getting some initial testimonials. You tell people upfront, this is a beta. I am refining the program as we go, and in exchange for a lower price point, I'm asking for feedback. The right people will say yes because they care about the result. They trust you, not whether your slides are perfect, right? Option 2 is workshop first. This is one of my favorite ways to do this. So run a one-time live workshop. It could be 90 minutes. It could be 33 hours, depending on what you're teaching. Small group, low price point, or even like pay what it's worth or pay what you want. This lets you test your content and see who's interested without committing to a full program. And if the workshop goes well, you can turn it into an offer, official offer later on. Option 3 is the off-menu offer. This is one of my favorite strategies, and I use it in my own business. You keep your old offer available to existing clients only. It is not publicly promoted. It's your secret menu. For example, my coaching is front-facing. That's how I work with new clients. But for a long time, I ran an agency doing sales systems and done-for-you content. That CMO work is still a part of my business and represents a lot of my revenue, but it's off menu. Existing clients stay for years, and I bring in maybe 1 or 2, usually only 1, new clients throughout the year. This strategy lets you keep revenue stable while you're testing new positioning. Your current clients don't care if you're pivoting publicly. They just care that you are still serving them well. So here's the strategy. Pick one of these options to test your new offer, right? Don't make a big announcement. Don't put all of your eggs in one basket. Just quietly test it and see what works. If it works, Great, scale it, right? Formalize it. If it doesn't, you can tweak it and try it again. All right, priority 4 is about audience. What most people assume when they're shifting their business model is, I need a whole new audience. Not true. Unless you're doing some massive pivot like going from B2B or B2C or switching industries entirely, a significant portion of your existing audience will likely still be interested in your new offer. You don't need to start from zero. You just need to re-engage the audience that you already have and attract new aligned people at the same time. So let's talk about how to do both. First is to leverage your existing audience. So your current audience already knows, likes, and trusts you. That is valuable, right? So your job is to communicate the shift through your content and market research. A great example of this is a past client of mine. She initially worked with therapists building their side hustles, and now she shifted to serving more of a general business audience. Did she lose her entire audience? Nope, a big portion of her old audience was still interested because our framework applies to both, right? They still apply to those people. Don't assume that you need to abandon your current audience. Just start shifting the conversation and see who comes with you. The second one is to attract a new audience, right? I like to use something called a hand raiser freebie to attract new people who are aligned with my new positioning. A hand raiser freebie is a simple lead magnet designed so that you can say with 90% certainty, because someone downloads it, they are also very, very likely interested in my paid offer. We want to make sure the connection is really, really tight, right? It's not just any old freebie. It's strategically designed to attract people who are already primed for what you're selling. Create a simple lead magnet that attracts your new ideal audience. We want to keep it really simple too, because it's not going to take you a ton of time to create. But also, if we stick with something more like a PDF, it's also much cheaper in terms of cost per leads and running ads to it. The key here is, again, I want to reiterate this. I know I've said it already, but the key here is that you want to be able to say with 90% certainty, because someone downloaded this freebie, they're also very, very, very likely to be interested in my new offer. This validates demand before you build the full thing, and it starts attracting the right people into your ecosystem. The third option is to attract and nurture at the same time. The strategy here is what I call a content campaign. And here's what you're looking at: a 4-week structure, 3 weeks of priming content, 1 week of selling content. So week 1 to 3 are your priming phase, right? You publish long form content, whether that's written, video, or podcast, and you promote that content to your audience and on social media. You're planting seeds, you're warming people up to your new themes and ideas. And week 4 is your sales phase. So you send sales emails and promote your paid offer. Why it works so well for transitions is because you pick one theme related to your new positioning, you run this 4-week campaign, and those 3 weeks really get people primed to the conversation and ready, so that when you hit week 4 in your sales week, it doesn't feel like that offer is coming from left field. You've spent that time to warm them up to it. It's just like a pre-launch campaign in a campaign, except that you're running this all the time, right? We're always making sure that your editorial calendar is also making you sales at the same time. This helps re-engage your existing list and attracts new people who are interested in that topic. And then the next month, you do it again with a different angle of your new positioning. This is a free rebrand, right? You're not making any big announcement. You're just shifting the conversation, and your content is training your audience on what you are about now. And the beauty of it is that content campaigns create momentum. They're focused, they're strategic, and they give you a clear path for re-engaging your list and attracting newly aligned people without needing to be everywhere all the time. So run one campaign, see what resonates, refine your messaging, run another one. Over time, your audience shifts naturally because you're consistently talking about your new themes. Your content is your rebrand. Every piece you publish is a signal about what you stand for and who you serve. Priority 5 is the actual rebrand, and you don't have to update everything at once. Many people think that like a rebrand means a new logo, a new website, a new everything, all launched on the exact same day with a big announcement. That is one way to do it, certainly, but it's not the only way, right? And frankly, I don't think it's the best way if you're trying to transition without losing revenue. The slow rebrand rollout is exactly what it sounds like. You update your brand gradually over time, starting with content, layering in visual changes as you go. Here's kind of a little breakdown on what it might look like. So phase 1 could be your content shift. So month 1 to 2. So you start publishing content on your new themes. You test new messaging, new frameworks. You gather market feedback through engagement. This is what we talked about in priority 4 with the content campaign. You're shifting the conversation before you change anything visual. You could also be running like a beta at the end of those content campaigns too. But phase 2 is for your official offer testing. So months maybe 2 to 3. So you launch your beta, your workshop, off-menu version of your new offer. You validate your positioning with real sales and you refine based on what you learn. At this point, most of your audience doesn't even realizing that you're pivoting. They just think you're creating helpful content and launching a new offer, which you are, right? Phase 3 is to update your key touch points. So this might happen in month 3 or month 4. So now you start updating the visual stuff, right? Your social bio, your website homepage and about page, your email signature and newsletter header. You create a new lead magnet aligned with your new positioning, and these are high traffic touch points that signal your new direction to anyone discovering you for the first time. Phase 4 is when we go full visual rebrand. So months 4 to 6, and this is optional, right? If you want to do a full visual rebrand with new colors, fonts, logos, updated sales pages, refreshed templates, all of the works, right? This is when you do it, but you might not need to, right? Sometimes just updating your messaging is enough, right? Phasing out those old sales pages, updating the copy on your existing main pages of your website. The point is this: you don't have to do everything at once. Most of your audience won't even notice the gradual shift, right? Unless you're making some massive overhaul or pivot, like in an entirely new direction, right? They'll just feel like you're becoming more focused and more clear in what you do. A rebrand doesn't require some big announcement. It requires consistency in a new direction. I also have a bonus priority for you, and honestly, this one might be the most important. The biggest obstacle to changing your business model isn't strategy, it's fear. Fear that your revenue will drop, fear that you'll lose clients, fear that you'll make the wrong decision and regret it. And you know what creates that fear? Lack of financial safety. When you're essentially living paycheck to paycheck in your business, every decision feels high stakes, right? You can't test a new offer authentically because you're desperate for it to work. You can't shift your positioning because you're terrified of losing your current clients. You're making survival decisions, not strategic ones. This is why this bonus priority is about nervous system safety. Here's what that means. Nervous system safety is having enough money saved in your business to cover your personal paychecks and your business expenses for multiple months. This removes the desperation from your decision making and lets you build strategically instead of reactively. Let's talk about the nervous system safety net, right? So you're looking at 4 milestones: 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months. The goal is to work towards 6 to 12 months, depending on what you're comfortable with, but you don't need to do this all at once. I made it a huge priority last year to save my future paychecks and business expenses. This means that even if I make no money for an entire year, which I know would never happen, I'm confident about that, I am good, right? This allows me to create from a place of safety, shift from a place of safety, not survival. I can test new offers. I can shift my position. I can build for the long term because I'm not desperate for the next sale. Now, here's how you build this. You start with milestone 1 as your goal, right? Once you hit 1 month saved, you aim for 3 months, then 6 months, then if you want to, 12, right? And as it builds, your decision making changes. You stop being reactive and start being strategic. When you have financial cushion, you make better choices. You're not grabbing at every opportunity out of fear. You're choosing what aligns with where you actually want to go. So what's next? Or more accurately, what is first, right? You can do this on your own. The Lifestyle First Business Model Template is a free download that walks you through mapping your current version, and you can also create one for your ideal business model as well. That'll help you identify the gaps and give you a roadmap for closing them. It is the exact framework that I use with my coaching clients to help them bridge the gap between business A and business B, and it's completely free. Inside, you'll find the full canvas to map your lifestyle factors, your positioning, your offer suite, and your revenue plan, plus the detailed workbook that walks you through each single question step by step, and a private podcast that goes along with it too, right? For some extra tips and teaching. This is your starting point. Download it, work through it, and get clarity on exactly what needs to shift in your business. I'm going to pop that link in the description. Your business model doesn't have to stay the same forever just because it's technically working. You're allowed to want something different. You don't have to blow everything up. You don't need to make a dramatic announcement. You don't have to risk your revenue to make change, but can do it consistently over time through this slow shift.